On the evening of June 24, 2026, two earthquakes struck Venezuela within 40 seconds of each other.
At least 164 people have been killed, but that number is expected to rise. Officials say the magnitude...
And nothing would be the same again. The first hit at 6:04 in the evening, local time.
Y bueno, hay bastante humo, ¿verdad?
Magnitude 7.2. Epicenter near San Felipe, roughly 160 kilometers west of the capital, Caracas.
Edificios. Se cayeron edificios. Miren cómo está eso. Terremoto hoy en Caracas, el 24 de junio de 2026, por aquí en esta zona de...
At a depth of 22 kilometers, the ground shook violently across the entire northern region.
An earthquake just shook the entire building minutes ago.
Windows shattered, furniture flew across rooms. People grabbed onto whatever they could find just to stay on their feet. Then, before anyone had time to process what just happened, the second quake arrived. Magnitude 7.5, shallower, more powerful. Centered just southeast of the town of Yumar, also in Yaracuy State. And according to seismologists, this was not just another earthquake. This was the largest seismic event ever recorded in Venezuelan history. The strongest the country had experienced in more than 125 years. The timing could not have been worse. It was a national holiday. June 24th marks the Battle of Carabobo, a decisive military victory in 1821. That secured Venezuela's independence from Spain. It is one of the most celebrated days on the Venezuelan calendar. Millions of people were home with family, gathered in parks, sitting in restaurants still full from the afternoon rush. Schools were closed, offices were empty. The streets were alive with people enjoying the holiday. When the ground began to move, there was no warning, no time to prepare, no time to run. Buildings that had stood for decades crumbled in seconds. Entire facades peeled away from apartment blocks. Exposing the interiors to open air. Staircases collapsed mid-flight. Parking structures folded.
Authorities worked through the night searching for survivors in the debris. Videos show
people fled into the streets barefoot, clutching children, clutching pets, watching their neighborhoods collapse in front of them. Dust clouds rose above entire city blocks.
Homes now crumbled concrete and mangled metal. And rescuers...
The air smelled of gas, broken concrete, and smoke. In Caracas, the scale of the destruction was staggering. The municipality of Chacao alone deployed over 500 emergency personnel for search and rescue operations. Gas lines were cut across multiple districts as a precaution against fires. Power went down across large sections of the city. Cell networks failed almost immediately. Overwhelmed by the volume of calls or simply knocked offline by damaged infrastructure. For the millions of Venezuelans living abroad, many of whom had left the country during years of economic crisis, the silence from home was unbearable. Families in the United States, Spain, Colombia, and across South America stared at their phones. Refreshing, calling, getting nothing back. Just silence. Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello identified Los Palos Grandes in Altamira
¿Qué te puedo decir? Un desespero. Quisiera saber dónde está mi niño, si está atrapado o está por ahí un refugio.
as among the hardest-hit neighborhoods in the capital. He described what he called alarming situations of total collapse.
Todo tapiado. Ahí hay personas dentro, me imagino.
Buildings that were full of families just minutes earlier were now piles of concrete and steel.
Area e via del Pino è stato transennato e chiuso al traffico.
Stamattina alle 6:30.
In one area of southeastern Caracas,
Lasciato proprio senza fiato, che sembra un evento bellico.
reports indicated that nearly every high-rise in the vicinity
Country in more than a century.
Maddie Gannon has the latest.
Rescue efforts.
had either been severely damaged or brought down entirely.
Later, the elevator started to shake from side to side really strongly.
Authorities worked through
A major bank building in the city center also collapsed.
for survivors in the debris. Videos show collapsed structures and piles of
Rescue teams arriving on scene described conditions unlike anything they had encountered before.
Actually becoming a really sad moment, and I suspect that the next days are going to be really...
Streets were blocked by rubble, downed power lines and debris.
both hit not far from Venezuela's capital city. Assistance from around the world.
Emergency vehicles could not reach those trapped inside collapsed structures.
Much of collapsed buildings, and so they'll need a lot of help in terms of digging through that.
Authorities issued urgent appeals over radio and social media for motorists to clear the roads immediately.
Esso poggiava all'origine del crollo probabilmente una voragine.
Every minute counted. Simon Bolivar International Airport, the main gateway in and out of Venezuela, sustained heavy structural damage and was immediately shut down. All arriving and departing flights were suspended indefinitely.
De alta magnitud. Mira cómo quedó todo. Puedo observar, yo grabé.
Footage from inside the terminal circulated widely on social media, showing ceiling panels and debris raining down onto the departures hall as passengers ran in every direction, abandoning luggage.
Mira este desastre. Este es Maiquetía. Las ascensores, ¿dónde están?
Looking for exits, looking for safety. At the Hospital de Clínicas in Caracas, staff were ordered to double their overnight shifts to handle the wave of incoming patients. The corridors were dark. Ceiling panels hung loose overhead.
Can't even always wash their hands. And without
Plaster and dust covered the floors. Nurses and doctors worked by flashlight in some sections of the building.
Caracas, there is no power. This is a private hospital. They do have a generator, but it's not enough power to power the...
The hospital was treating victims while simultaneously managing its own structural damage, unsure whether the building itself was still safe to occupy. Collapses were reported far beyond the capital. The states of Trujillo, Carabobo, Aragua, and Miranda all reported significant structural damage. The coastal city of La Guaira, situated just below Caracas along the Caribbean coast, was also heavily affected. For a country already struggling with years of economic hardship and crumbling infrastructure, the earthquake hit a system that had very little margin left. Acting President Delcy Rodriguez addressed the nation and declared a state of emergency.
Quiero agradecer a los gobiernos del mundo que inmediatamente ocurrió.
She confirmed that fatalities had already occurred, though exact numbers were still being determined in the chaos of the first hours. She announced that hundreds of rescue workers were already deployed across the affected regions and called on the Venezuelan people to come together in the face of the disaster. Interior Minister Cabello followed with an urgent public warning. Do not go back inside. Not your home, not your office, not any building you were in before the quake. Even structures that appeared to be standing had been compromised by the shaking. The risk of collapse from aftershocks was real and immediate. Within just 2 hours of the main shock, 6 aftershocks had already been felt across Caracas. Seismologists warned that in the days and weeks following an event of this magnitude, strong aftershocks were not just possible, they were expected. So how did this happen in a country not known for seismic disasters? Venezuela sits at the tectonic boundary where the Caribbean plate collides with the South American plate. That collision is not head-on. It is oblique, a grinding, sliding interaction that builds enormous stress along a series of fault systems running across the country's northern region. The most significant of these is the Bocono El Pilar fault system, a network of right lateral faults stretching approximately 1,300 kilometers along Venezuela's entire northern coastline. This is not a new fault. It is not an unknown one. The same system produced devastating earthquakes in 1610 and again in 1894. Geologists had long identified this zone as one of the most seismically dangerous in northern South America. But Venezuela, unlike Chile or Mexico or Japan, does not live with the constant reminder of earthquake risk. Tremors are rare. Major events are generational. That unfamiliarity made the disaster all the more shocking for a population that had no framework, no drills.
Years. Never in my life I have seen something like this.
All of this as reports of
no deep cultural memory of what to do when the ground moves like this. The shaking was felt across the entire region. In neighboring Colombia, residents along the Caribbean coast and in northeastern cities reported strong tremors, though no injuries or major damage were confirmed there. In Brazil, buildings in the Amazon cities of Manaus, Belém, and Macapa were evacuated as a precaution after the quakes were felt hundreds of kilometers away. The international response came quickly. The United States announced the immediate deployment of search and rescue teams, medical personnel, and humanitarian aid supplies. The U.S. Embassy in Caracas confirmed that all staff had been accounted for and urged American citizens in Venezuela to stay away from damaged structures and seek secure shelter. For Venezuelans who lived through it, no description fully captures what those 40 seconds felt like. Even those who had experienced smaller earthquakes before said this was something else entirely, something deeper, something that did not stop when it was supposed to stop. This was something they had never felt, something they hoped they would never feel again.